Knights fighting dragons seems pretty epic, right? But here's the weird part. They practiced with chickens first. I'm not making this up. Medieval warriors actually trained against angry poultry before taking on fire-breathing monsters. Let's unpack this bizarre story. So here's what a typical day at medieval night school looked like. You'd show up bright and early, super excited to learn dragon-slaying moves, but instead of a fire-breathing beast, you'd face a really angry chicken. These weren't your average backyard birds. We're talking specially trained attack chickens. They'd peck, dodge, and move in unpredictable ways, making them perfect practice targets. Knights would learn to track fast-moving targets, improve their reflexes, and master the art of timing their strikes. Plus, if you messed up, you'd only get a few pecks instead of becoming dragon barbecue. Smart thinking, medieval folks. Here's the genius part about using chickens. They're basically mini dragons minus the whole fire-breathing thing. Think about it. Chickens bob and weave just like dragons would in flight. They've got that quick, jerky head movement that dragons were famous for, and they attack in super unpredictable patterns. A chicken's pecking strike happens faster than you can blink, which is exactly what knights needed to practice defending against. And when you scale everything up, the way a chicken moves its neck is surprisingly similar to how medieval folks imagined dragon attacks would work. Plus, chickens have this territorial aggression that made them take training seriously. No pretend attacks here. Let me take you inside a typical training session at the Chicken Knight Academy. Rookie knights would enter the training yard wearing lightweight practice armor. You definitely didn't want full plate when you needed quick moves. The instructor would release the chicken, and that's when the fun began. Students had to master the chicken dodge, a quick sideways hop that became super useful later against dragon tails. They'd practice timing their sword strikes between the chicken's attacks, learning that crucial split-second timing that could mean life or death against a dragon. The real pros could predict a chicken's next move just by watching its feet, a skill that translated perfectly to reading dragon body language. Here's the best part. Some of the most legendary dragon-slaying victories came from knights who totally messed up with chickens first. Take Sir Roland of Winchester. He got his butt kicked by a chicken named Betty for 6 straight months. But all those humbling pecks taught him the perfect dodge roll that saved his life when facing the Drake of Durham. Or Lady Margaret the Brave. She became famous for slaying 3 dragons in one day, but she started out by accidentally falling into a chicken coop during training. That embarrassing tumble taught her how to recover quickly from unexpected attacks. My favorite is Sir Thomas the Cautious, who spent 2 years running away from an especially mean rooster. Turns out that's exactly how long you should wait for a dragon to tire itself out. The real secret source of dragon fighting wasn't passed down in dusty old books. It was shared through whispered chicken training wisdom. Knights developed this wild technique called the Rooster's Gambit, where they'd spin in circles until the chicken got dizzy. Sounds ridiculous, right? But when you're facing a dragon, making it lose its balance is pure gold. They also mastered the grain feint, pretending to throw feed one way while attacking from another. Some knights even learned to mimic chicken sounds to confuse their feathered training partners. These tricks got passed down from knight to squire, each generation adding their own twist. My favorite was the moonlight method, training at night when chickens are extra grumpy and unpredictable. Let's talk about roosters, nature's tiny drill sergeants. These feathered fighters taught knights some seriously cool defensive moves. When a rooster charges at you with those sharp spurs, you learn real quick how to pivot and block. Knights would spend hours practicing the rooster sidestep, a lightning-fast dodge that became super handy when avoiding dragon claws. The roosters were relentless, coming at knights from all angles, forcing them to develop 360-degree awareness. The best part? A rooster's attack pattern is actually way more random than a dragon's, so if you could handle an angry rooster, you were golden against the big scaly boys. Here's something wild. Chicken feathers move just like dragon scales during a fight. When knights trained with chickens, they noticed how feathers ripple and shift during quick movements, creating these tricky blind spots. Those same patterns showed up in dragon fights. where scales would flutter and create similar visual challenges. Knights learned to spot weak points by watching how chicken feathers bunched up during different moves. They'd look for that telltale ruffle that meant an attack was coming. The coolest part? Both dragon scales and chicken feathers have this amazing way of reflecting light that can totally mess with your depth perception. Knights who mastered reading chicken movements had this huge advantage when facing dragons. They could predict attacks just by watching how the scales shifted. Let me tell you about some of the most epic chicken training fails in medieval history. There was Sir Geoffrey, who tried to intimidate a chicken by roaring like a dragon. The chicken wasn't impressed and chased him straight into the castle moat. Then we had Lady Isabella, who thought wearing bright red armor would help her stand out during training. Spoiler alert, roosters love red. She spent 3 hours stuck up a tree. My absolute favorite is the story of Squire William, who accidentally used pepper instead of grain to lure the training chickens. The resulting chaos cleared out the entire training yard, 3 nearby villages, and created the first ever recorded case of medieval tear gas. These mishaps might sound ridiculous, but they actually helped knights develop better dragon fighting techniques, even if their dignity didn't survive intact. Listen up, because this is where it gets wild. We've got actual accounts of dragon-slaying knights giving shout-outs to their chicken teachers. Sir Marcus of York kept a golden statue of his training chicken Commander Clux right next to his dragon trophies. He swore that chicken's zigzag running pattern saved his life against the Wessex worm. Lady Elena the Fierce actually had a pet rooster named Professor Pex, who travelled with her to every dragon hunt. The best story? Knight Commander James survived the infamous Battle of Burning Bridge thanks to a move he learned from a particularly aggressive hen named Martha. He even wrote a poem about it, though honestly, his poetry was scarier than any dragon. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Those medieval chicken training sessions. They shaped modern military tactics. That zigzag running pattern soldiers use today totally came from watching chickens dodge night attacks. Special forces still use the scattered grain formation, spreading out troops just like chickens searching for food, and that famous military tactic of creating confusion with multiple small attacks. Our medieval friends noticed how a group of chickens could overwhelm a bigger opponent. Even the Navy SEALs' quick strike techniques share DNA with those lightning-fast chicken pecks knights had to defend against. Next time you see soldiers training, look closely. You might catch a move that started with a medieval chicken. Thanks for joining me on this wild journey through medieval chicken-powered dragon training. Hit that like button if you learned something new, subscribe for more bizarre historical tales, and share this with your friends. Stay clucky, dragon fighters.